There is another page that I want to show you all really quickly that kind of relates to the different prompts that you can go into. And this next page is called Prompt Engineering Concepts. Again, I'm just zeroed right in on the important part, not really reading the top layer, but you can go and read this entire article. But this portion right here popped out at me, and I was like, I love this. Right? Because we just talked about, or we mentioned like latent space and what is a model good at, really? What are you thinking about? What does your subconscious mind really have inside? Right? That's what's going to play out on the day to day. And so same thing with a model, whatever that latent space is built like for that model, I need to get some best practices. And so you can see how this link, as I hover over it, talks about prompting best practices, not just models as a whole or generally, but specifically Amazon Nova, right? When we're trying to tweak some things. I remember when I first started playing with Nova, my outputs were just bad. I remember I was in a team meeting talking to a few individuals, telling them how bad my outputs were, trying to get somebody to walk down a hallway or something like that with Nova, and their faces are all blurred. But I needed to follow some of those best practices to get it in that sweet spot, right? Yeah, there's a bunch of different models here. Yeah.
And what I love about Nova, and I think I did an article, was it after Super Bowl or maybe it was after Super Bowl? I think it was around planting seeds. Usually that's one of my phrases that I love to go back to. Yeah. And where I wanted to create this kind of AI tree. And when I think about what's going to happen as we're planting the seeds in our society, this generation, what is that going to even look like 5 years down the road, 20 years down the road? And I son next to me while I was creating. In Bedrock, it gives us the option to have a couple of different outputs when we enter the prompt. And so it had variations. So it had 3 different variations of an image. And I asked them, which one do you like? Which one would you pick out of those 3? And so we set the one aside, and then I said, give me another variation. They gave me 3 different. And so we ended up with a total of 12 variations of kind of AI glowing tree. We'll probably share that LinkedIn article as far as seeing what that final image I picked, right? In that regard. Yeah. But again, this is where as we were talking earlier, actually, about where the creativity comes into play. Being a cybersecurity professional, working in tech, it doesn't always lend to a creative space where we can try and test. And this is the beauty of being in the cloud, of where we can now try and test all these different services that are literally at your disposal. And in many cases for free. When we come back to that reasoning that you just mentioned earlier, and where we had mathematics at the bottom, where I was like, show me the work, right? This is where I go back to. But again, even as we've talked about other posts, is around, if I can use this tool, whatever that tool may be, because everyone has a favorite tool, and there's so many that's coming out almost every week, right? I don't want to say every day, but at least every week.
Yep.
Whatever your favorite tool is, it's okay. Doesn't matter, right? Just use one. I like to bookmark what my favorite one, whether I'm at work, whether it's on my home computer, I bookmark, and there are certain tabs that open up the first thing, and it's always there, so that at least once a day, I'm prompting about something. I'm asking a question. If you want to think about prompting as just simply asking a computer a question, then do that, right?
Absolutely.
Now we talked to you a little bit about, was it last week where we were talking about Alexa Plus?
Yeah.
Now, right, again, there's now these models and the interface for us to where we can talk and ask the question. We don't have to just prompt. Prompting is just another way of saying search. Don't get bogged down by the terminology. Prompting is just another way of saying enter your search, enter what you're asking for, enter what you're looking for. And I say that up front because don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of these words that are maybe just a little different than what you're accustomed to seeing, hearing about. You're hearing about all these different things with AI and all these different models coming out, and everyone's jumping on the bandwagon, and that's great. But we're just getting started. That's the reality. And if you don't take the time to get started with just simply prompting, if you've searched for something online in your lifetime, then you can prompt. Guess what? Another trick that I forgot to share. I now use a model to tell me and help me refine my prompts. Go figure. So I'm going to use a model and say, hey, I'm not sure about this prompt, but this is what I want to do, and this is my objective. How can I write a better prompt to get to my end goal? And guess what? My model comes back and says, and I'm not going to say what my favorite ones are, because whether I'm on my work computer or my personal laptop, that's a different story, even on my mobile device. And so the point is that I may not be an expert just yet, but I'm going to use the model to help me refine what I'm trying to do. This
Love
is
that.
also the beauty of code generation, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And this is where many of the code agents, particularly where we have our own code agent as well, that
Hmm.
helps us in being able to navigate some of those tough questions or regenerating code, whether it's Python or anything else that you're doing, in helping to move you further,
Yeah.
faster,
Hmm.
right? So that again, you can review, does it make sense? Is this accurate? And copy and paste, right? So it's about efficiency is the way that I look at this.
Absolutely. Absolutely love that, coach. Right? Don't get hung up. Just start playing around and you'll get better at prompting, right? Now, there's some best practices, so go for some of these best practices so you can. But I love what coach is saying about Alexa Plus. Some of the internals behind the questions that you ask, there might be some predefined prompt that just sets the stage for you. And it might involve some of the guardrails that you set up as you're dealing with that because let's face it, we got these devices a lot of times for our children. But just wanted to mention a few other things before we get out of here, and we're almost out of here, folks. Let's just jump into Amazon Bedrock. And so place this here and let's go for one of those models really quickly. And we'll just try it out on just a few of those elements of prompt engineering. So I'm in Amazon Bedrock. I'm just going over here to chat and text, and I'm going to select favorite model that we have now. I'm just going to go for Anthropic, and I'm going to go for Claude 3.7 Sonnet, and I'm going to choose apply. Now, there are some samples that you can deal with. So I'm just trying to give you an example that you could put in play yourself if you want to practice these different prompts or this technique about prompting. Simply hit this particular link that I'm going to place in the link in the post for you to be able to grab some data. I want you to come here and notice that this is customer service transcript analysis. You can hit this button that's going to present some transcripts of some different calls, and maybe this is a call that happened at a particular call center. I'll let you read through that GitHub, the nice README that explains everything. But really quickly, I'm just going to copy this, right? And I want to just come to this prompt and I want to paste this here. Now, that's a lot of information, and there's better ways to deal with this, right? And so I'm not trying to show you this as best practice to be able to store a knowledge base because this is not the best way to do it. But what we do have here is some text. And just so that we can reduce this a little bit, I'm just going to maybe delete about half of this text. I'll leave a few words here, but I'm just going to present some small text here. And I want to let you know that we can build this out efficiently. And we can say, you know what? I want to develop some context here, right? And simply put, I'm just going to grab something that talks about this particular example. And maybe we could say, you know what? Here's some context. And I'll read the text that I'm going to paste here. And it basically says you're analyzing customer service transcript for a large e-commerce company. The company handles thousands of customer interactions daily across multiple product category services. So that's going to be some context there. What we can do as well is we can define a role here. We can say, you know what, act as a call center manager. So now we also have a role to be added with this context. There's some other things that we can talk about, like instructions, right? And so some clear instructions might be, you know what, I want you to analyze this report or this response from the customer. And so I'll add that here. And I just want to analyze the provided customer service transcript, identify the main customer concern, determine the customer's emotional state, extract some key things, provide recommended actions, and then format your response. Now, there's some other things that we can add to the prompt as well. And so there's also an element of negative prompting. I can say things like, you know what, a big one here, and I won't add a bunch of it just to save us some time, but don't include personal customer information. Now, part of that transcript does include the customer's phone number, maybe the customer's email, and we don't want to include that as a response. But we did give instruction. It does have some analysis of some customer sample to go through. I'll hit confirm now, and let's run that. The power of our prompting will provide us some output. And right, I'm just going to back away from the screen just a bit so we can see this well. But it tells us the customer concern here. It tells us the customer emotional state, and we could read through it, but I'll let you put some practice on that. I'll leave all the details in a link within this post so that you can look at some good output or drive the output like you would like to. Just some small example. But let me get off of that. You'll have an opportunity to explore that. You'll be able to notice that there's no personal identifiable information, things like that. But good deal, folks. We wanted to come out today and give you some ideas around prompting. So let's just keep it short and sweet, Coach. I don't know if you got any more details to fill these folks in around prompt engineering, but I've done a little bit of talking here, and I want to leave that. I want to bring it to a stopping point so you can practice.
Yeah. What I would say is don't be afraid, right? That's part of the reason that we're doing these series. And then just give it a try. If you can search for anything that you've been doing online, you can prompt. It's just another way of saying, what do you want? Set the context, set the stage, ask the question. And then if you are curious of how the model, and something also that I forgot to mention, there's nothing wrong with asking the model, when were they last trained? Okay?
Absolutely.
What's the
Absolutely.
most current date that they were trained on? There's also another way of being able to search insights, meaning what are allowing the model to go and search online for current information as well, right? Whatever your path is, don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to jump in, dip your toe in the water, just give it a try, right? Ask the question. And if you're not sure about what the prompting or best practices are, go back to the guides or just ask the model directly in the prompt window, right? What's the best way to create a prompt, or how should I refine this prompt, or create a prompt for me that helps me meet this objective?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever approach works for you, try it. And I'm confident that you'll realize that many approaches work for you for different reasons, depending upon the model that you're using. Either way it goes, give it a try. Don't be afraid. And if you're still reserved or hesitant, don't be afraid to reach out to one of us, and we can certainly help point you in the direction to give you a little bit more hands-on coaching there as well.
Absolutely. So as Coach was going through that simple prompt explanation to end this conversation, I was just adding those prompts right there into Bedrock, utilizing this particular model.
Exactly.
So it is just that easy, folks. And so I want to say it's been a pleasure to hang out with you all, hang out with us. We mentioned that data engineering might be a follow-up, and it might be.
I believe 10 weeks, man. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
this was your idea, Ariel, and I'm happy that you brought me along for the ride. It's one of those things where it's really been fun, and I love the engagement. I love the conversations that's being had. Thanks for your Think Big idea.
Me too, and thank you for also a lot of the ideas that you presented. So you say it's my idea, Coach, but we could have done this without a lot of your ideas, right? I think it's our idea, right? So good deal.
All right.
See y'all.
See you later.